Hi there, my name is Greg Snell. I work as a professional videographer and drone pilot with UAV Coach. Welcome back to our 5-part series on the Skydio 2. In this 5th and final video, we're going to cover the pros and cons of the Skydio 2 after 2 months of use, the best case uses for the Skydio 2, including inspections, public safety, and defense work, our overall opinions on how the Skydio 2 performs in the field, and our final predictions and theories on what comes next. Let's get started. All right, and welcome back to our studio. We have returned from South Africa, where we were testing the Skydio 2 against other DJI models. It was an absolutely incredible trip, and if you haven't seen that video, be sure to check it out, linked in the description. But back here in this 5th and final video, we are going to talk specifically about the value of the Skydio 2 for drone pilots and other professionals. Now, I work primarily as a videographer and a photographer, so my own personal bias leans towards the cinematic video quality, smooth flight patterns, reliability of the transmission signal, and so on. However, there are other aspects of professional drone work where Skydio drones are being utilized, and these include inspections, public safety, and even defense work, all of which we'll cover in this video. So since we purchased the Skydio 2, our team here at UAV Coach have been testing its functionality and how it performs in the field. The first 4 videos of this series go into more detail about things like the basic drone setup and app walkthrough, the Skydio 2 motion tracking and the built-in skills plus autonomous flight modes, the extremely intelligent obstacle avoidance, and as I mentioned earlier, our last video where we go down to South Africa to test out how the Skydio 2 stacks up against other DJI drone models. After all that time, we now have a good overview of how this drone performs in the field. So here are some of our top pros and cons. Let's get started with the pros. The Skydio 2 is constantly running its obstacle avoidance system. It's scanning its environment and creating 3D models to make automated decisions on where and when to fly. It uses a built-in NVIDIA Tegra X2 chip to process all of that data, and it has an update rate of 1.3 trillion operations per second. The drone can see in all directions, utilizing 6 4K color cameras, each with a 200-degree field of view. This means that the Skydio 2 has an unobstructed view of every point in its surroundings with unprecedented resolution and clarity. With this obstacle avoidance system in place, and with it being always on, the drone can easily navigate around big and small objects while flying. I can honestly say that after just the first few weeks of flying and testing the drone, this obstacle avoidance system is by far the best I've ever experienced. Alright, next up is the motion tracking of the Skydio 2, which is outstanding. The drone easily recognizes subjects such as humans and vehicles, and you need only to press the small blue plus icon hovering on your subject to begin tracking. You'll know that the drone has got a lock on your subject when you see a blue circle sort of rotating around your subject on your mobile device. Once you see this, then it's go time. We found that the Skydio 2's motion tracking via the app was reliable up to 200 meters or 650 feet. With the controller, it's even better, and with the beacon, even better still. Now, in the case that the motion tracking system does lose your subject, the Skydio 2 will automatically return to the launch point, and as we mentioned before, you can trust that always-on obstacle avoidance to not hit anything during its return. This motion tracking software, when paired with the obstacle avoidance technology, is absolutely where the Skydio 2 sets itself apart. Our final pro for the Skydio 2 is definitely the 4K video quality. Also, the fact that you can shoot 4K in 60 frames per second is very impressive. This is one of the highest resolutions and frame rates that you can currently get in a consumer model drone, and is designed for videographers like me. And as a professional, I can easily say that the 4K video quality is outstanding, especially in your 4K 24 FPS or 30 FPS base setting. The 60 frames per second simply allows the videographer to create a slow motion effect in post-processing, which is nice to have and always looks pleasing to the eye. If you plan on using the Skydio 2 to record footage for your video projects, then you can be absolutely sure that the quality of the 4K video is top-notch. Alright, let's move on to some of our cons. The The quality of the transmission signal from the app on your mobile device or whatever you're using to see what the drone sees while flying is simply not good. Now, I understand that this is only connected via your phone's Wi-Fi, but the image is still kind of soft and really the transmission signal range is very short. In a wide open environment, you've got about 200 meters or 650 feet maximum before you do start to see that image quality, which is already relatively soft, begin to disintegrate, and eventually you will lose connection completely. Now, the quality of this signal does get stronger when you're utilizing the controller, and even better still when you've got the beacon, but still I found that overall the transmission signal quality from your mobile device to the drone was quite poor. This is, however, something that Skydio as a company is addressing, and I do hope to see that transmission signal improved in future models. As we mentioned earlier, the motion or the subject tracking of the Skydio 2 is outstanding, and when paired with the obstacle avoidance, you've got a very powerful machine. However, the obstacle avoidance will automatically override the subject or motion tracking when it's detecting an object within its flight path. This is obviously very important to ensure that the Skydio 2 doesn't hit anything, but it does create many inconsistencies within your footage. Therefore, it is extremely difficult, if not impossible, to get 100% smooth footage when tracking a subject. You can always still cut a few seconds here and there, but you're never really going to be able to use the entire clip. Now, this is annoying, but in my opinion, it's not a deal breaker. The Skydio 2, as you can see here, is a very compact and well-built drone, but it's not very portable. The obstacle avoidance system relies on a 360-degree unobstructed field of view, meaning that the physical structure of the drone must stay as is, and you cannot have folding arms. Also, the 6 different wide-angle cameras should be protected against any kind of scratches or damage, ensuring the best results from the obstacle avoidance system. Therefore, the Skydio 2 does come with this sweet carrying case, which does protect the cameras and holds the drone well and makes it relatively easy to travel with. However, it definitely makes it harder to stuff into your camera bag. Alright, next up is our best use cases for the Skydio 2, including inspections, public safety, and defense work. In my opinion, the Skydio 2 best use case is when you want to capture footage of yourself in an absolutely wide open environment without having to manually fly the drone. This is even more useful when doing something active like running or riding a bike. In the last 2 months of flying and testing this drone, I have noticed that the subject or motion tracking and the obstacle avoidance system are by far the 2 most outstanding features, but this does come from a videographer and a photographer, so keep that in mind. However, there are some other additional best use cases for Skydio drones in other industries outside of videography and filmmaking. These are inspections, public safety, and defense work. Let's get started with inspections. I'm not a professional engineer or construction manager, but I do see the convenience and the cost-saving techniques of using drones for infrastructure inspection work. Skydio has a ton of great resources online that go into depth on their new 3D scan software and how their drones can help your business do inspections better. They specifically state that the 3D scan is a first-of-its-kind adaptive scanning software to automate the data capture process needed to generate 3D models with comprehensive coverage and ultra-high resolution. Now that sounds like a lot, but simply put, this software will help you perform higher quality inspections faster and with minimal pilot training. This is currently only available on the Skydio 2 Plus and the Skydio X2 drones, but I could eventually see this software transitioning to future consumer drone models as well. Public safety is a big industry for Skydio. According to their website, 11% of law enforcement and firefighting fleets in the US currently use Skydio drones. They've joined forces with drone responders to help prioritize community engagement, the protection of privacy and civil liberties, and much more, as you can see. Now, from what I can tell, most of the information regarding public safety is in reference to the Skydio X2 drone. However, I could see the Skydio 2 also being very useful in many similar cases. You can check out all of the detailed information about public safety on Skydio's website, which is linked in the description. And finally, we have defense. Now, as you can tell, I'm not in the Pentagon, but as a drone pilot, I understand the use for autonomous drones in sensitive surveillance environments. Once again, the Skydio 2 itself isn't specifically mentioned when doing the research for the uses in defense work. The information mostly refers to Skydio's X2 drone. Either way, the fact that Skydio drones are American-made and they've been selected as a trusted platform for the Department of Defense, this is what matters. According to the government, Skydio drones are secure and trustworthy, and they do a good job. So, boom, there it is. You can find out much more detailed information about how Skydio drones are being utilized in inspection, public safety, and defense work, all linked in the description below. Alright, and now it's time for our UAV coach overall thoughts and opinions on how the Skydio 2 performs in the field. I've touched on this briefly in the other 4 videos, but overall, I believe that the Skydio 2 does perform well in the field. It's genuinely a great drone and specifically stands apart when it comes to obstacle avoidance and subject or motion tracking. It's the only drone that I've flown where I have 100% certainty that it's not going to hit anything. And I often fly my drones in close proximity to certain subjects in order to get a really dynamic shot. However, this comes with inherent risk and worst case scenario consequences if I do end up getting into an accident, which I'm trying to avoid. So when flying the Skydio 2, I don't even have to worry about that, which is a nice relief. On top of that, the drone is exceptionally good at tracking moving subjects. The perfect example of this is from our last video when I set up the drone to autonomously track me while mountain biking down a dirt road in rural South Africa. The Skydio 2 did a great job of tracking me. It was quick and responsive and held the tracking over a duration of almost 10 minutes with probably a minimum of at least 2 kilometers. Now that is pretty impressive. The drone is made for people looking to film themselves while doing certain activities outdoors in a wide open environment. You don't have to worry about crashing or hitting anything, and you can be sure that you're going to get some awesome quality 4K footage while doing so. Alright, now it's time for our final predictions and theories on what comes next. With the release of the Skydio 2 Plus, I see the company continuing down the path of releasing intelligent consumer-based drone models. The 2 Plus boasts drastically improved range, as well as a new waypoints feature called Keyframe. I see both of these as important innovations, but it would still be nice to see them taken even further. From the research I've done, the Keyframe feature is very similar to DJI waypoints, and like anything, it'll take some time to get used to, but it's nice to see it built into future models. The new range update boasts up to 6 kilometers of transmission signal, which I believe is probably only possible with the beacon, but still an upgrade to the transmission signal overall is definitely necessary. It would be nice to see Skydio improving their controller. Right now they have some sort of partnership with Parrot, and they use the same controller as the Anafi. Now, I mean no disrespect to Parrot, but the controller feels weak, it's toy-like, and the plastic feels kind of cheap. It would be nice to see Skydio redesigning their own controller, bringing it closer to something that's a little bit beefier and hopefully has an even better transmission signal quality to the drone. Next in our future theories, I expect Skydio to redesign the physical structure in their next consumer model release. I have no idea how they'll do that, but for marketing purposes, having a new, fresh-looking drone is always a good thing. It would also be cool to see the drone offered in different color variations, not only your blue and black, but red and black, white and black, very similar to what DJI did back in the day. You could even make tiger stripes or leopard print or something ridiculous. People could even customize the color scheme that they want for their Skydio. Just some kind of marketing thing that sets them apart from the competition. Finally, I see Skydio continuing to implement some of their more technical features into the consumer-based models, such as the 3D scanning software, which is now available in the Skydio 2 Plus. It would be great to see these consumer-based models also being more useful in industrial settings. This would ultimately allow for other professionals to use American-made drones in their respective industries. So similar to how Skydio is currently operating within inspections, public safety, and defense work, but just broadening their horizons. What do you think is next for Skydio's consumer-based models? And what other industries do you think that they could excel in? Also, is there an imminent release of the Skydio 3? And if so, what do you think it will have that we haven't seen already? Be sure to comment your answers in the comment section below. Alright, and that's it for us and our 5-part series here on the Skydio 2. I hope that you have enjoyed these videos, and if you haven't seen the other 4, be sure to check them out linked in the description below. Now from everybody here at the UAV Coach team, we're wishing you blue skies and safe flying.